Could Arsenal's summer spending spree take them in the direction of signing Brentford goalkeeper David Raya? Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to another video. Yes, it is another bomb from David Ornstein in regards to this transfer window regarding another player that we have talked a little bit about in this transfer window so far, David Raya of Brentford. Now, you'll know that if you've been following this story, talk on David Raya has gone a little bit quiet over recent weeks as teams that have been interested in signing the Spaniard have turned their attention elsewhere and signed other goalkeepers. Well, it appears that another party has emerged as a front runner for this situation, and that is Arsenal Football Club. Could Arsenal be about to take David Raya off of Brentford's hands? We're going to be talking all about this story, David Raya, Arsenal, the situation that be, and everything else in between. But before we go any further, I would like to remind you all to please like the video and also subscribe if you're new. Both things always and forever be greatly appreciated. And also, I encourage you to get involved in the comment section as well. I'm sure you have a lot of interesting thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions, feelings, whatever you want to call it on this particular transfer. So do get them in down below. Would love to hear from you all. Would love to read all your comments and your thoughts and everything in regards to this potential transfer story. But for now, let's get on with the video. Let's talk this big breaking news from David Ornstein of Arsenal's interest in David Raya. Now, Ornstein took to Twitter earlier today to say, exclusive, Arsenal exploring deal to sign Brentford goalkeeper David Raya. No bid yet, but Brentford aware of interest. Bayern also pursuing, but 27-year-old keen to join Arsenal. So, what we know about the situation is that obviously earlier on in this transfer window, David Raya was being linked with a number of teams. There were a few teams that were looking at goalkeepers, and David Raya was a name that was being linked with those names. The likes of Manchester United, for example, Chelsea. And whilst Chelsea seemingly are happy enough to seemingly stick with Kepa for the season, Manchester United obviously turned their attention elsewhere and decided to pursue Andre Onana instead, and of course managed to obtain Onana's services. David Raya was then left in a bit of a loop. There was interest seemingly from Tottenham, but of course they went and signed Vicario. Then of course the Bayern Munich links come about, and allegedly, according to Romano and Ornstein, these links are drying up. These links are dying and they're on the verge of collapsing. Romano follows up Ornstein's tweet by saying, David Raya prefers Arsenal move over Bayern. Deal depends on clubs now, but Arsenal expected to bid soon in order to accelerate talks. Negotiations with Bayern are currently off after loan offered in the morning, not what player / Brentford wanted. So, Bayern were obviously looking for some sort of deal. Obviously, they've got the returning Manuel Neuer soon. They were obviously looking for some sort of quick deal to, of course, plug the gap, so to speak, or fill that void as a backup goalkeeper when obviously everything gets back to normal and the season resumes and everything. That is seemingly what Bayern were looking for. David Raya isn't that. But having said that, does this mean that Arteta is on the lookout for an improvement in goalkeeper? And if so, is David Raya an improvement on what they already have in Aaron Ramsdale? Now, if you were to ask any Arsenal fan last season, they go on about how Aaron Ramsdale is arguably the best goalkeeper in the Premier League. That's what they say, at least, or some may say. I've always maintained Alisson Becker is, and that's not just because I'm a Liverpool fan, but I just maintain it is. But some Arsenal fans go on about him like he is the best goalkeeper in the top flight division. I have my reservations on that. I think he makes certain mistakes. I think he's not the best when it comes to his kicking. I think there are better options out there. But I think he's a solid choice goalkeeper. And I've held my hands up before and I've said I was wrong on Ramsdale. When he made his move to Arsenal a few years ago for a big sum of money, I said that this was a strange deal. I didn't understand the deal, especially when they got rid of Emi Martinez around about that time as well, when I thought Martinez was the better goalkeeper, I questioned whether or not this was a great move. I ridiculed it a little bit, and I've held my hands up and I said that I was wrong, and he's actually done better than what I was expecting. And the issue I have with this is that David Raya, for me, represents arguably a better goalkeeping choice than what Aaron Ramsdale is. I think it's quite debatable, to be honest, but I think it's quite 50-50 to be all honest with you. I think it depends on your preference. I think it depends on certain aspects, what you consider to be top on the goalkeeper's list of priorities, and so on and so forth. But I would argue and say that maybe David Raya is a very strong competitor towards Aaron Ramsdale. Now, does this mean that it's going to be a jostling for position? Is Ramsdale maybe on his way out of Arsenal? I think it's more of a competitive thing for right now, and I think that Arteta's trying to keep things fresh, trying to keep things competitive between his goalkeepers, and having two goalkeepers that can arguably number one in the majority of Premier League teams up and down the league. It's not necessarily a bad thing to have, but it could cause some upset later on down the line. Should, of course, he go on and prefer one goalkeeper over the other. And then you've got a choice to make. Do you make the sacrifice of one of them to obviously go on and further along his career? Or do you try and stick it out for as long as possible in terms of keeping two very good goalkeepers, two very, very good goalkeepers at your disposal? Obviously, only time will tell on that one, especially if this is to go ahead, as seemingly said by David Ornstein and Rorano, that a bid is expected on this in the very, very, very near future. What we know about David Raya is that he was a goalkeeper who has been very solid since arriving at Brentford. He's been a very solid goalkeeper. He played every minute and every game last season for the Bees, in which, of course, he helped them obtain a 9th place finish, which is a very, very good standing as far as what Brentford are concerned. And he made the most saves in the Premier League last season. He was a goalkeeper who made the most saves in the Premier League, so his shot-stopping ability is pretty solid, and he has been, like I say, for a number of years now. His shot-stopping ability has been pretty solid. As far as being a more modern-day goalkeeper goes, where, of course, the now modern-day goalkeeper now has to be as good with his feet as he is with his hands, he's pretty solid at that too. He's not the best, he's not the worst. He's somewhere in that sort of middle ground. His long passing is very good. His long passing, I think, again, last season, if I'm right in remembering or thinking, I think he made the most successful long passes or something last season. Something along them lines. So his long passing is very, very good, and I think it could be a useful weapon for the more direct approach, and I think that it might be something that he has over Ramsdale in that area. I think sometimes Ramsdale's kicking and long-range passing is not quite up to scratch in that aspect, so I think he may have something over Ramsdale there, but it's a solid choice, and it's a solid choice. And also, like I say, if it is to be genuine, if this story is to be true on this, it's a bit ruthless for Mikel Arteta, isn't it? Because I don't remember off the top of my head who their second choice goalkeeper is for Arsenal, but obviously it's not providing much competition for Aaron Ramsdale. So this will provide very big competition for Ramsdale. It can't harm for the immediate future, but somewhere down the line you may develop a bit of a problem between both goalkeepers, in which they'll want to solidify their place as a number one goalkeeper, or the backup choice goalkeeper that's not being preferred will want to obviously be a first choice somewhere else, that kind of thing. It's a solid choice by Arsenal, and like I say, it's a bit ruthless for Mikel Arteta to obviously try and look for maybe what some people would say would be an improvement. If we remember, earlier on this transfer window, there was talk of a 40 million price tag being placed on David Raya's head, when obviously he was being linked with the likes of Tottenham and Chelsea and Manchester United. Is that price tag still there, or with time progressing, is that price tag being lowered a little bit? I would say probably lowered, because I think he is entering the final year of his contract, if I'm right in remembering. So maybe it has been lowered, and maybe Brentford are slightly caving into the demands of David Raya, who clearly and obviously wants to leave the club. And obviously, if Arsenal come calling with the upward trajectory that Arsenal are on, it only makes sense that he would go to a club that is, with all due respect to Brentford, of course, on the way up, getting bigger, getting better, and of course, going to seemingly be a top challenger this season towards Manchester City's Premier League title. And of course, they have Champions League football to aid in their pull as well. So there's a lot of layers to obviously signing with Arsenal. There's a lot of pros to obviously signing with Arsenal, of course, and David Raya will be foolish not to consider it. And according to Romano and Ornstein, of course, he seemingly wants that move even more so ahead of Bayern, who of course put in an offer that Brentford and David Raya himself didn't want to happen overall. I say, I'm interested to know the thoughts and comments and opinions of Arsenal fans in particular, because obviously your goalkeeping situation takes a bit of a turn on this one. It'd be interesting to know what you guys think and feel on this story in regards to David Raya and Aaron Ramsdale. Can the two be good competition for each other, and can they help go on and one better each other in that kind of competitive aspect? I'm interested to know what you think about the situation. Should you be going after a goalkeeper right now, other than maybe other places in the team that I think may need addressing? I know that obviously there's some talk of Mohamed Kudus, and there's one or two other players as well that obviously may be walking through the door at the Emirates after the likes of Kai Havertz, Jurrien Timber and Declan Rice already this summer. So it'd be interesting to know your thoughts on that one as well. But is this also showing Arsenal as a big team finally? The ruthlessness of maybe giving Aaron Ramsdale top competition. And I think Ramsdale needs it, by the way. Don't get me wrong. I think Ramsdale does need that competition. Sometimes, like I said before, he makes mistakes and he does certain daft things. We saw it towards the end of last season. He was making a fair few mistakes. He was doing some things that were questionable. And I think that he needs that competition to obviously keep him focused and to keep his concentration levels up high, because I think if he continued to make them mistakes, there's not really competition at Arsenal that I can see or that I can remember that's memorable to really challenge for his place going forward. David Raya would provide that, and therefore maybe keep his concentration levels up to a very, very high standard, because you've got a goalkeeper waiting behind you, or maybe he's jumping ahead of you and now you've got to really prove yourself to obviously get back in that starting 11. So we'll wait and see on that one. But I'm very interested to know what the thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions, feelings are of you guys on this potential news story. But yeah, it does appear that David Raya is on the radar of Arsenal Football Club, and according to David Ornstein and Fabrizio Romano, bids are imminent for the Spanish goalkeeper from Arsenal Football Club. But as I always say, these are just the thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions, feelings, whatever you want to call it, of this guy. I want to know what you guys think. What do you make of this whole David Raya situation? Do you think he'll go to Arsenal? Do you think it's a good move by Arsenal to maybe go after this goalkeeper? I'd love to know what you guys think down below in the comment section. So do get your thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions, feelings, whatever you want to call it, down below in that comment section. I'm sure they'll all make for interesting and great reading. Otherwise, hit the like button on the way up if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe if you're new or want to see more content like this. Both things are always very greatly appreciated. And as always, thank you all so much for watching and listening. I've been Fletch. This has been another Fletch Talks video, and I'll see you and speak to you all again soon in another video or live stream or whatever it will may be. Cheers, guys. Have a good day.